people saying that I put Timothy down. A lot of people saying that I turned Timothy round. A lot of people saying that
where has Timothy gone? Whoa!
But ain't nobody saying which way has
Timothy gone.
Where is Tim? Anyway, I don't want
Him anyway, I just wanna know,
anyway,
where has Timothy gone? Welcome to the Tim Weichselbaum Show. This is episode 49 of the program. What a beautiful song to open on.
Didn't give me one.
I just discovered that it's only 2 minutes long. It's less than 2 minutes long. It's a short song. Very fitting to this personality that I am projecting onto y'all this evening and afternoon. It's actually coming to you live at 10:52 a.m. That's a first for me. I usually record this at 10:52 double a.m., meaning that I stayed up the whole night until 2 of them happened before going to bed. Nope. I'm not sleep deprived today. I'm currently killing it in terms of that. Anyway, addicts. What the hell is the point of those? I can't believe it's legal to build a house where you have to go into the garage as the homeowner and climb into a hole in the ceiling. There's now, what is it, the 1700s? I gotta go crawl. I gotta climb up a hole in a ceiling to change a filter in my air conditioner every month. The future is not yet in it. So being a homeowner is not ideal. And if you're not like a loaded one, if you can't pay somebody else to do every little thing, it's like all of a sudden, oh, I'm the dude from Breaking Bad. I'm like Walter White. I got to go under the crawl space for God knows what. Not to store money. No. To fix shit. To fix a water heater. Anyway, so I can't believe that's legal. I mean, I had to go up there yesterday. I mean, I was thinking like, well, it'd be very easy to die if I just fell off this horribly low-quality ladder thing. If I just fell backwards, just lost my balance, I'd be dead. And then when I got into the attic, you know, I was terrified because I was looking for spiders, making sure there wasn't much of those up there. There was definitely some spider activity signs therefore, I was freaked out. Anyway, it was super hot up there, so I was like, okay, here's another thing I just found out about how this is extremely dangerous. If I just, passed out from heat stroke up here, yeah, that'd be the last anyone would ever hear from me. I don't have anybody living with me going like, oh, he's been up in the attic for a long time. Maybe he's died of heat stroke. Anyway, it's a good day. I am currently suffering from rosacea or eczema or something like that. So I got a bunch of red splotches on my face. So I think we're going to turn off it's enough for this 4K. Let's go back to standard def. Let's turn on the Barbara Walter filter. Okay, that's better. So anyway, I got a haircut yesterday, and man, was it $90. I spent $90 to look this good. It was actually a $50 haircut, so that means I overtipped quite a... Okay, so I think I definitely overtipped. Here's how I know I overtipped. When I put in $40 into the thing, he was like, are you sure you want to tip? Did you mean to do 40? I'm just making sure you didn't mean to do 4. I'm like, you think I'm only going to tip you $4? Did you not see the Miata that I pulled up in outside? I was insulted that he thought I would be that cheap. So in the end, I kind of regret being that generous. But the problem is I was giving off big tipper vibes. It was my fault at the get because he asked me what I was doing for the past 5 months that I've been not getting a haircut. And I was just like, very honest. I'm not going to make something. Like, what am I going to say? I could have just said nothing. I could have just been like, just chilling. But no, I said, just trying to figure out what to do with I've just been staying in, trying to figure out what to do with my life, like avoiding society. That's what I say to people that know me. Why would I say that to the barber? But it wasn't that big. I mean, who cares? He was. So anyway, he said, okay, what do you do for work? And I was like, I'm in between careers. I was a programmer, and I'm sick of that because I already mastered it. So it's like, well, okay, I want to do something else. He's like, oh, I respect. How is that? It's like, it's a good starter career. That's the most arrogant sounding shit you could tell somebody who doesn't, I don't know, because he wasn't some broke guy. He's like the owner of the place. He was the owner of a barber shop. He's a sole proprietor. I don't think he was jealous that he didn't. But it got awkward after that because I said, yeah, I fucking mastered programming. But like what I meant by that was I'm bored of it. I've made enough money from it, and it's a job. It's not like, oh, I love programming. Yeah, I just love sitting there looking at code all day. Because that gets you a lot of pussy, Okay, so it got awkward when I was like, yeah, these days you either go into tech or you struggle to pay bills. He was like, yep. And that's when it got silent. So I was like, fuck, I just made myself look like a 1% like douchebag who's like, but not really. I mean, that's kind of true. If you live in the Austin metro, yeah, you're either you're either in tech or you're fucking struggling. So I was just stating a fact. And anyway, so that's what I was like, oh fuck, now I gotta tip him a shitload of money to live up to what I was saying and just to not feel guilty. I guilted myself into over tipping. And he was the owner of this boutique barber shop that's been open since like the 30s, So I was like, this guy deserves money. But thinking back on it, like he wasn't that great. Like he gave me a good haircut, but like he kept making the same jokes that he made last time, and like I didn't laugh. And it's not my fault that I'm not. Like sometimes you project these things onto people, thinking that they're like cool and like not and impervious to being awkward. But no, anyone could be awkward. It doesn't matter if you own your own barber shop, if you're a veteran with a bunch of cool little like pins that show that you're a veteran. I thought he was cooler than me. He is probably in many situations, but like I was like, damn, you made the same joke you did last 5 months ago. I just like rolled my eyes a little bit and like, what can I, it's not my fault. Okay, let's get into the podcast. So the brown recluse update. I live in Texas. There's a lot of bugs that are very like undesirable. There's a couple. There's the one called the brown recluse spider, and I took care of them. I murdered them. They show up here and there. They showed up in my bathroom. There was one on me. There's one that bit me. I had like had like 2 fang marks on my arm here, on my upper arm. And I was like, well, I don't remember I don't remember that happening. And recluse bites are not painful. They're painless. So I didn't even know this one had happened. But it must have been in my shirt and got pressed up against the skin somehow. So I saw these red fang marks, And I just doused it in rubbing alcohol. And that was probably a good idea because it started healing. And a little ring around it too, like a little ring of inflammation, and that's what they look like when they're super new and mild, and then they get worse sometimes, leading to like a deep welt in your skin, in your flesh that never fully heals. So fuck brown recluse. So I had, the pest people came by a couple days ago, and all they did was spray some fucking chemical, some concoction on the baseboards around the house, the interior. That's it. They didn't go in the attic. They did the garage, but they only did the outline, just the board, the fucking baseboard of my, and like it's like I'm not impressed with that level of treatment. When we're dealing with a recluse, I was hoping they would pull out the big guns. They didn't even go in the attic, which is clearly they gotta be up there. I'll find out because I laid a trap. I'll find out soon enough if that's indeed what's up there, and I'll call them, and I'll pull out the Karen card, and I'll be like, "Can I just ask why you didn't do my fucking? Can I just ask why didn't you do my attic when you get the brown recluse? Because you know." So that, because I have a feeling that since they treated it as just a general pest, they didn't even give a fuck that it was recluse. It was like, okay, so where are the pests mostly a problem? And I was like, it's not just pests, it's fucking the one, it's the one that leaves fucking deep flesh-eating wounds. So did you not know? Did you not get briefed on that? And so no, it was just the general same shit they do for any kind of pest, it seems. And I don't think it's going to do anything because I already have access to fucking chemicals I could just spray around the house. That shit, I already have that. They didn't do anything I couldn't have done myself. So I just think it's kind of like a business. The business model is to not actually solve the problem. It's to keep you on the subscription model so that they could look like they're keeping your house free of bugs. But I haven't even seen any dead ones. Every bug is still alive. They haven't done shit. So if they're not going to solve the root problem, I'm kicking them to the curb. I could be my own exterminator. I'm going to use coldness to kill them. Not, recluse want to go where it's warm. Right now, it's still pretty goddamn warm in parts of my house. In the attic, it's definitely freaking like 90 degrees still. But when it gets real cold, I'm just going to leave the house vacant. I'll just turn the thermostat off when it's like as cold as possible in Texas, which is not that, 40 degrees, maybe 20 degrees a couple of days. And that'll be enough to hopefully give them to be like, oh, well, this place sucks. And I won't be there at the time because I'm not going to be here if it's 20 degrees in the house. Anyway, so that's the plan. I mean, I pretty much experienced a lot of I have a lot of experience with these fucking recluse. They're getting bigger and easier to identify as I see them more and more. So fuck that. I'm having a lot of narcissistic thoughts because I've been recently treated for a new disease that I have called ADHD that I just forgot that I had for about 15 years. I thought it was just like a joke disease. I thought it was just like a thing that they invented. And I thought the school systems just used it as an excuse to give your kids drugs so they would pay attention, they would behave better. Mostly just that, just to behave better. Who gives a shit if they get good grades? They just don't want them to be a ruckus for other students and all that. I thought that's what it was. It is kind of that. It does affect your behavior. It makes you more impulsive and thrill-seeking. God damn it. Thrill-seeking, and that's why I get into trouble sometimes when I was untreated. So I just recently became treated. That's why I'm more cool, calm, and collected. That's why I'm able to stand for a long period of time, is because dopamine makes you want to move more. It makes you just want to do shit. Dopamine makes you want to move, and moving makes you want to do shit, and doing leads to making shit. Making shit leads to people paying you money, and it's like a positive feedback loop. It's like, oh, if people are going to encourage me to keep making shit, I guess I'm going to keep doing the drug. It's a good drug, but it's also such a fucking good drug that you're going to have a very bad time if you get too used to doing it. We'll get more into that, but I'm talking about narcissism right now. I don't think I have narcissistic personality disorder, but I definitely have a lot of thoughts now that I'm treated, and now that my brain is firing on all cylinders. I'm starting to see through the bullshit. Now that the brain fog is cleared, I don't know if it's that I've always been that way. I've always been a douche, but now I'm actually able to act like a douche in front of other people, and I don't even feel bad because it's I feel like it's earnest. If I see someone driving like a bad driver, which is every time I go out anywhere, there's always going to be an aggressive driver if you're driving in Texas in a metropolitan like Austin or Dallas or especially Houston. Like it's horrible. So I just go, well, that guy's acting, he's in the wrong. I mean, I'm not going to get over, I'm just going to not even make a change in my behavior. No detectable change. When somebody's tailgating me and I'm not in the fast, I'm just minding my own business, driving perfectly normal, safe following distance and all that, just trying to get to where I'm going. I just completely act exactly the same way. I don't give them any satisfaction by looking at them through the rearview mirror. I don't have to. There's something called peripheral vision, so you don't have you could tell that they're there. The only reason to make eye contact is if you're trying to be a confrontational, if you're trying to communicate something to them. So I don't do that. And then if they get along my car when they're just pissed off, trying to like show that they're pissed off, I don't know, people do that. I just do the same thing. I just completely act as if they are invisible. And I think that's the best way to react, even though it could even doing nothing, like even just doing that could cause an escalation if they're that fucked up in the head. But I just have a feeling nobody's going to like shoot somebody in the head like if they don't even know that they're being threatened first. Like they're going to at least try to get me to look at them before they shoot me. Of course, there's exceptions to every rule. There are some people fucking crazy enough to murder people who are simply not even interacting, like completely removed from it's a one-sided situation. I mean, that happens in Chicago. There's just like people just shoot people randomly. Not even talking about gangs. I'm talking about like just murders on the street. It's random and it's unpredictable. So narcissism. I don't know. I guess, okay, another way it's coming out is like I'm realizing that I am actually pretty damn intelligent. Like I'm actually pretty good at coming up with like original ideas and my problem solving skills are not that bad. It's just that without the executive function skills, you do feel pretty goddamn retarded. If you're untreated with ADHD, that's like 10 points that you're missing out on in IQ. So if you take Adderall, you're going to get it's going to unlock your full IQ. It's like a smart drug, but you have to already be smart for it to work. It's not going to make a dumb person any smarter if they don't have ADHD. It removes the handicap that prevents ADHDers from reaching their full potential. It doesn't add anything on top of it that's valuable. It does add stuff. It has an additive effect, but that isn't what I'm taking it for. That would be abuse, I think. Because, yeah, if you take enough, you're going to start having thoughts that are no longer based in reality because you're going to be so active. And like I said, if you're moving around, you're going to be making shit, you're going to be thinking of shit, and so that's an additive effect. You're going to be writing shit down. And yeah, if you take enough, the shit that you're going to be writing is going to be fucking insane. You're going to be like trying to come up with conspiracy theories. You're going to be trying to resolve conspiracies. And that's called delusion. It's a form of psychosis. But hey, I think I have not reached that point yet, and I'm not doing it for that. But it sure as hell makes me more inclined to just come up with so many more fucking jokes. Like I came up with another, I don't know how much, but just what I feel is a very substantial amount of funny jokes that are not ready to be, they're new, they're premises. I got to work them out and actually see how they sound. They're just funny like premises. It's not stand-up yet until you reduce it down to just the setup and punchline. They're wordies, but they're fun. The point is like I just knew as I was writing them that they're high quality compared to how I was before getting treated for this shit. So that gives you more confidence and that puts a pep in your step because like, okay, if I know that I came up with something funny, I'm going to be more confident even if I don't do those jokes on stage. I know that I have them. And whatever. So I guess the narcissism part, is that, I don't know, it's just like I feel I'm starting to have these thoughts of like, holy shit, I'm fucking a genius. But it's not the bad kind of narcissism where I think I'm better than other people. Like, it's not like a toxic. It's like the kind where, okay, I feel very powerful in a way that makes me want to do shit and put shit out. And I don't know, because every fucking successful artist probably has that sense of self-aggrandizing, like sense of narcissistic, like Pablo Picasso. You think he didn't think he was fucking awesome? Like Louis C.K. He definitely loves being, he enjoys being Louis C.K. Like he likes that people get excited whenever he shows up and he can just be himself and get currency paid back to him just for being who he is. That's a very gratifying feeling, and I guess it feels so self-indulgent to get that kind of validation with so little effort. You just show up, you be yourself, you say like one funny thing, like, yeah, that's me. People expect you to be yourself if they, whatever. So anyway, that's who I'm going to be. I'm going to be the next Louis C.K. Now that I figured out what was wrong with me. Jesus Christ, man. Like, you need to be confident, man. You need to like actually like be proud of what you're putting out, or else why would you want to like show it to people if you're writing all these things down and you don't actually think they're worth sharing? You got to maintain the drive and the passion for what you're producing in anything, in comedy and whatever, in any form of work, even if you work at McDonald's. Never mind, McDonald's is probably a bad example. Anyway, so that's cool. I forgot what I was leading up to with that. Something about how, like, you have to be that way in anything. You have to be proud of what you're doing, because then you can consistently deliver on it at the same level. You don't have this, like, oh, I'm sick of that, so I'm not going to... You could tell when somebody's sick of what they're doing. So if you're not proud of it, if you're not in it... and that was my problem. I got sick of shit because it wasn't giving me the same dopamine as the first time I did it. So if you don't get any benefit paid to you by repeating something, you're not going to do it. And that's ADHD. It's the dope. It's the... So that was stopping me from getting a lot of places. But yeah, we're not going to talk about that yet. We still got a few things to cover in the episode before we get to the heavy topics that are actually going to hold up to the test of time and be seen by a lot of people. I mean, it's good that I'm recording this. Actually, let's switch back to 4K. Okay, now that we're in 4K, it's 1080p, but it's reduced. It's going through a 4K sensor and then being downscaled through a pretty nice camera. And like even 20 years from now, or however long, 80 years from now, when people are researching my life, because obviously I'll be famous at some point. Like after I'm dead, maybe is when it'll happen. Who knows? I don't care. I'm not chasing fame, but I'm just saying I know something about myself, and that's the narcissism that I'm talking about right there. It's like I have this deep-rooted feeling that I'm special and I will be important, like the words I'm saying or whatever, or at least at some point I'll do something important, and that'll lead to people digging up this podcast to study me. I'm sorry, that's just what I think. Prove me wrong. I mean, hey, you'll see. So anyway, perfect pitch is a skill. It's not a skill. It's an innate ability that many people don't have, that a lot of people kind of, some people want it. It's a hearing skill. Why am I bringing this up? Because I used to want to be a musician. That was my dream, to be a musician since I was 10. Since I first discovered electric guitar, I was like, I want to do that. Because it's the coolest thing ever. At least it was in the late 90s. It's not cool anymore. Now it's like all about like rap. Yeah, hip hop. Yeah, white music is not cool anymore, but it was when I was growing up. Like, nothing was cooler than an electric guitar. So I was like, I want to know how to fucking improvise on that, not just play like other people's songs. I wanted to be able to do what Jimi Hendrix did, not to his level, not replicating what he does. I just want to be proficient enough musically that I can do it to his degree, like in a way that allows full creative expression. This is a very serious episode. Like, I'm not being funny right now at all. This is 11 a.m. and so I used to really want to be a musician, and I knew as a very small kid that if you have perfect pitch, you're going to be able to play whatever you want, because you'll just know what's in your head, how to play it on a piano. Because that's what I wanted. That's what I had, the ability. I have the ability to compose music. So I hear shit in my head, and I was like, well, it'd be nice to be able to just play as it comes out. I don't want to have to think about it. Like, okay, what note is that? No, I want to just have something in my head and play by ear. That's what playing by ear means. But not everybody who can play by ear has perfect pitch. They could achieve it with other forms of training. You could develop relative pitch, which unlocks your ears. It opens up your ears to be able to decipher what's going on between the notes, not the notes themselves, just what's going on between them, the intervals. So you could hear a chord, a complicated chord, and you could hear every single note in it because it has a certain sound, and because you could actually hear the individual notes, because it unlocks your ears. It improves your hearing. It's a very good skill to learn. Perfect pitch, on the other hand, is very difficult to learn. That's the controversial thing, and that's why it's interesting to me, is that a lot of people say that it can't be learned. There's some truth to that. There's not a lot of data to prove that it could be learned. There's a couple studies, and a lot of people don't know what it is. So that's one of the reasons that I'm fascinated by it. I've been fascinated by it since I was, like I said, a small kid. But then I didn't have it. I don't have perfect pitch. I could have had it if somebody sat me down at a piano when I was a toddler and said, okay, remember that this is a G. Remember this is a G sharp. Just remember all the 12 sounds, because we all have them in our heads. The only difference is that people with perfect pitch have mastered the actual intrinsic quality that makes a G, or a G sharp, a G sharp. That's what they have mastered, usually at a young age. Sure, they could have it without knowing it. That's absolutely possible, that they just never really put it together, that they have it. But everybody has the subconscious ability to detect the intrinsic quality, or at least they have it internalized. This is what I've just been kind of figuring out, even though I've also read it or heard it other places by the authorities on the subject. Because very few people are authorities on this subject. That's also why it's interesting to me. I like very niche ideas or topics. And even people that have full perfect pitch, it's also called absolute pitch, because it's absolute. You could tell, any note. It has nothing to do with where it is on the scale. It's an absolute chromatic quality. It's like a color. Every note is like a different color. You could compare it to that. But it's sound. It's a sound color. It has nothing to do with the visual spectrum. So anyway, even people with perfect pitch don't really know that much about it. They just know they have it, and they don't like it because they complain, because they could hear when everything's a little bit off. But they don't know. I don't know. Just because you have it doesn't mean you know much about it. Doesn't mean you know if you could teach it to other people. But a lot of people say, no, you can't. It's impossible. So that makes it kind of this very sought after thing. It's like this thing that you have it or you don't. It's so it could be confused as a talent or a gift. It's not a fucking gift. It's only a gift in the sense that it's very, very difficult to acquire as an adult. But when you're in the critical learning phase of your life, it's extremely easy to pick up, which means it's not really a gift. It's just something you have to develop in early stage development. So does that mean it's impossible to learn as a 30-year-old? No, it's not impossible. It just takes a lot of practice because you have to slowly open your mind's ear. Every day, you got to keep exercising and got to keep lifting the weights. And then naturally, if you're doing it correctly, you will gain perfect pitch. And the problem is to fully gain it, to be just as good as somebody who had it as a kid. That part I haven't done. I haven't achieved that because I gave up because I finished the course. I bought these CDs way back in 2010, and I did the lessons every day. I got through them. I finished it, and I started developing perfect pitch. Some, like 40%. I never made it to full perfect pitch where I could just, boo, that's a G flat, boo, that's a B, boo, C sharp. But that's what it means to have perfect pitch, is that it takes absolutely no thought. It's a passive skill. You don't have to think about it. You just hear a note. It's like detecting a color. You look at a color, you don't have to think about what color it is, unless it's like one of those illusions or whatever. It's the exact same thing with perfect pitch. You could just be exposed to any sound for any length of time, and it just hits your ear a certain way. It hits in your brain, perceives it as, it categorizes that sound instantaneously as C sharp, for example. And so to achieve that takes a lot of practice to get it to that high level of skill. Because I know what it is. I know what it feels like to be able to tell a C from an F sharp or anything, something like that. Anything. There's a difference between every note. If you don't have perfect pitch, you can still hear the difference between a B flat and an F sharp. A really good example is an F sharp compared to an E flat. Those two notes are so different sounding. Forget about where they are on the keyboard. Yes, there's an interval, there's a minor third in between those. So they have a da 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 da, but the notes themselves, regardless of the interval, don't let the interval confuse you. You can still hear passively, without trying, that the F sharp has a certain twanginess that the E flat does not have. The E flat is like mellow and very soft. Doesn't matter what instrument you play it on. Every instrument is gonna have an F sharp sounding more twangy, like compared to the E flat. Like clearly, those are different tones. So to actually fully memorize and internalize those sounds, yeah, that's what perfect pitch is. So the question is, can it be achieved? Yeah, I think so. You just need to really practice and know how to practice correctly, because you can't just force yourself. That's the fucking thing that is so interesting about it to me, is that it's so like elusive. Like most people don't know what it is. Most people think it's impossible to achieve. Most people don't. And then what's the point of having it? Is there any reason to have it? Does it help you as a musician? Does it help you in other ways? Yes. Yeah, most people who have perfect pitch tend to be better at music. They have some innate talent in music, whether they pursue it or not. Even if you just lie around if you're not a musician, if you have perfect pitch, you're going to be able to like put together a mixtape that just fucking goes together fucking beautifully, because you'll just have like this. You'll be able to know, like, okay, they're in similar keys subconsciously. This is not, you'll just know, okay, yeah, I have a better appreciation for music, and it helps you perform music better, but, because it helps. If you know exactly what each note sounds like, if you're singing a song, you'll know if you're correct. It just makes it easier. It makes it more fun, because it adds another dimension to music that you didn't know was there. It's like, so you see through on like you're playing 4D chess. That's a great way to describe perfect pitch. Instead of just hearing the linear, you're hearing just the relative sounds, but with perfect pitch, you're seeing like through the bullshit, and you're seeing colors. So it's like going from seeing in black and white to seeing in color. So yeah, you're going to have a much better time in the music field, but also it helps you in the field of everyday communication, because you could understand people better. When I first started developing it, I first noticed when I was actually like making progress, because I was not a musical. I was not born with a good ear. Everything that I learned, or everything I accomplished, I had to like learn everything. I was not born with any musical talent, except for the ability to compose a little bit. I knew I had that, but not. So everything else I got to work on. And you could hear people better. You could understand people better based on like over the phone. If somebody calls you don't know who the fuck it is, you could tell who they are just by their voice a lot easier. So anyway, that's enough on that topic. And it's something I'm trying to achieve actively right now. I gave up on it in 2012 because it's like, okay, I finished the course, but I don't know what exercises to do to refine it to the point where I could just be like, bah, it's a B flat, bah, it's an E sharp, whatever. I don't know. I don't have it yet. I want to have it. So another really quick thing about that, because I happen to be kind of interested in it, is that we all have a subconscious ability to choose specific tones in the same way that people with perfect pitch can identify them. For example, like anytime you are speaking with an inflection in your voice, what does that mean? It means you're choosing specific tones to condone or to convey an emotion or a form of communication, some type of communication. If you speak monotone, nobody's going to know what the fuck is going on. If you're just a robot, you might as well just text it out. So the whole point of spoken word communication is to use tonality. Otherwise, what's the point? There'd be no reason to like interview criminals. There'd be no point of depositions if there's no such thing as inflections. Anytime there's like, oh, an inflection in your voice, like, what did you say? That right there, that raising of the pitch at the end, why did I choose that specific pitch? Yes, I chose to raise my voice. See, talking, wow, I'm spending way too much time on this topic. This is going to be very time-stamped, so you could easily skip through it. Okay, very, very obscure topic. Okay, people with autism have perfect pitch. Speaking of monotone, I don't know if that's why they talk monotone. No. So anyway, why did I choose those pitches? Well, when you're talking, it's not like you're just saying notes. You're moving your voice up and down all over the chromatic scale. Like if you saw a piano, and every time you talked, the piano like showed which notes were playing as you were like, you know, what notes your voice was playing. It would be all over the map. Even if you just said a simple sentence like hello, that right there. Hello. Can you believe how much of a stretch that is? That's like right there. I just sang a fucking melody, a swooping melody. Not really a melody, but like I took a note and I pitched it down almost an octave. Hello. If you really accentuate it, if you really you could tell that was more than an octave just saying the word hello. But I was doing it. That is a very not normal way to say hello. That's a very sexual way. Like if you say that, if it takes you a full octave to say the word hello, you're probably trying to get laid. Hello. But that we do that all the time. So that's why people with perfect pitch don't really get annoyed by somebody just talking out of tune, because usually they're not landing on any specific note. They're starting on specific notes. They're ending on specific notes. Like with that hello. I chose subconsciously, without even thinking, a note to start and end on, because that's the most important thing, because people pick up on that, and that's how they decipher what you're doing, what you're trying to communicate. So if you just say monotone, okay, here's a good example of perfect pitch and why it helps. Not even why it helps. We all already utilize it. You don't need to master it. for it to be useful. The reason it's useful, the reason we evolved to have it, and also why dogs have it and other animals, is for communication. It's to be able to deliver a thought without having to write down 1,000 words that we didn't have when we were cavemen. When we were cavemen, we were just grunting. So we had to know what different grunts meant. And we all know this. Or we still have that ability. If you had nothing but grunts, let's just try to do a podcast with grunts. Okay. Mm. 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 So you can see the podcast has not gone down in quality even without word. It's pretty much just as good as a podcast. And that's because of the power of tonality in spoken word communication. You could have a conversation all day. You could tell by the grunts what I was trying to communicate. Like, like all it is just taking a pitch and moving it up and down the chromatic scale. So let's actually apply words to it just to make it a little easier. So, there's a lot of phrases, and this touches on this opens up another can of words. Like, words are not that important, which I just kind of demonstrated. Like the podcast, just as good, just with me grunting into a microphone, So you shouldn't be too hung up on people's choice of words. Like if somebody uses a word that's not quite the right word for the context, is like, oh no, you should have used that word. You would have looked better if you used this word because it's more precise. It's like, okay, who cares though? You get what I mean. So a good example of people taking words a little too seriously is the word gay. Like, yeah, we all say it. I mean, at least everybody I associate with says the word gay in everyday conversation. Like, that's gay. Has nothing to do with gay people. It just means, I'm not interested in that. Like, that is not that cool of a thing. That's gay. That sucks. It's just another way of saying that sucks. So it's not that the words don't really mean much. It's like, oh, that's gay. Yeah, that's gay. But the way you deliver it does matter. And so this is what inflection is. So you could say that's gay, or you could say that's gay, or you could say that's gay, or you could say that's gay. So there's many different ways of saying it. Like one means, oh, I'm not interested in something. One means you're attacking something. So those different things I'm doing involve pitch. So we're choosing these pitches in our heads. And I could even do it with like real notes in like C and A, like C, that's gay. That's gay. So, you could say that and be perfectly in tune with music. That all I was doing right there was playing C. I was singing, basically. I was singing in C-A. That's gay. So I wasn't really moving my pitch. I was only saying, that's gay. People do that all the time. People could say that, and it would be normal. Like that, you could be that musical. That's gay. And nobody would call anyone. Like, why are you singing? I'm not. I'm just inflecting to show that I'm neutral on that subject. Because if you say, that's gay, who cares? You're not that passionate. If you go up a little bit to F sharp, let's try that. That's a C sharp. La, gonna. That's gay. That's gay. Whoa. All of a sudden, it has a completely different meaning, even though it's the same words. That's gay. All of a sudden, you could tell that I'm actually a little more critical. I sound a little more homophobic, like maybe I am being a little problematic when I say, that's gay, but not really. It just seems like I'm being kind of like dismissive instead of, that's gay, that's gay, that's gay. Very different meanings behind the tonality and all. And so music is in that. We're using an F sharp, a very twangy note, versus a C, which is more mellow and rounded. That's gay. That's gay. So we do that all the time. Like we use B flat. We can be like, it doesn't matter. Who cares what the note actually is? I don't have perfect pitch. I'm just saying we do choose absolute pitches to denote different emotions. Like, what? Huh? No. So that's a good way to train yourself to maybe develop perfect pitches, is by actually thinking, like, why am I choosing those tones? What are those tones, and why do I choose them so often in my everyday speaking voice? I don't know. Just something I figured, just something I found very fascinating. I'm not going to spend any more time on this because it's a very boring topic to most people. Anyway, so we talked about comedy. We talked about race. We talk about a lot about sex on this podcast. We all know that Jews are an inherently funny race and that women are inherently unfunny, except for black women. But what about Irish people? We haven't talked about them. We've talked about how a lot of people are not funny. Let's talk about how another race of people are besides Jews. Because Jews are funny, obviously, as a survival mechanism because everybody hates them and wants them out of their country, so they had to develop personalities, interpersonal skills to show up, to get along with people. Like, no, I could watch this. I could talk myself out of this situation. So that's why Jews are funny. But why are Irish people so fucking funny? Because I've been doing comedy for like 10 years, and like I pretty quickly picked up that the only funny people are either Jews, blacks, or Irish. No exceptions. If you're Polish, get out of town. If you're there's some funny Polish people. Anyway, so Irish people are funny, I think, for the same reason that anyone else is, because of oppression. Oppression makes you funny, and yes, we do have more on that later on. We're going to be talking about oppression on this episode. Let's actually see how long I've been doing. I spent so long talking about that perfect pitch bullshit. We're already 48 minutes in the episode. Let's go right along with the meat of the episode. So, I don't know if I mentioned this ever. Like, I've definitely talked about Jews on this podcast pretty much every episode. Hey, I'm allowed to. I'm half Jewish. So being half Jewish, what does that mean? It means that you have half Jewish genetic material. It just means that your dad is Jewish. If your mom is Jewish, you're Jewish. You don't have to say half, even if you're only half on the mother's side. If your mom fucks an Italian, they don't care. They say, oh, no, you're still Jewish. You're still just as Jewish as every other Jew who's ever been Jewish. According to the religion, according to the old religion that's been around for so long and that nobody really follows anymore. It's usually people that are not Jewish that call me out for only being half Jewish. Like, I don't always call myself half Jewish. Sometimes I just go, I'm Jewish. I got the last name. I'm pretty Jewish. I got a very Jewish last name. And so if I say I'm Jewish, they go, oh, on your dad's side or on your mother's side? I go, well, I'm half Jewish, so it's on my dad's side. And they go, oh, then you're not Jewish at all, because it only passes through the mother, as if I'd never heard that before in all my life. And then I go, yeah, according to the religion which you don't follow. Are you religious? If you're not religious, I don't see why that is relevant, because we're talking about genetics when we're talking about Jew, like that the fact that I'm Jewish. Yes, there's some tradition to it. Like, I was raised culturally Jewish as well, but that's not what I'm fucking talking about. I'm not a religious person. I don't care about the tradition. I'm talking about the race. I'm talking about Ashkenazi. So if people really want to, get gatekeepy about it, I'll just be like, okay, sorry, not to trigger you. I don't mean to trigger you by saying that I'm not following some religion that you also don't follow. So to not trigger, I'll just call myself Ashkenazi if that's a problem, because some people do have a problem with it. So I'll be like, okay, well, I mean Ashkenazi. I'm half Ashkenazi, and then usually they would maybe only be half Ashkenazi too. I mean, like anybody not everybody is full Jew. A lot of people are only a degree of Jew, and all I'm talking about is the genetics. That's it. I don't give a fuck if I don't give a fuck about your mom. So anyway, I'm Jewish in the sense that I have the history of Judaism in my bloodline, and I have a pretty good IQ. I'm capable of doing Jewish things. That's kind of what matters. That's why it's relevant. Why would we care about this if there wasn't any point to it? Well, obviously Jews are good at certain things. They're very good. They're very smart people. They're very successful. So yes, I want to be Jewish in that way. I want to do shit with my life. I want to achieve things. But anyway, the reason I bring it up is because we're actually going to start talking about it on like a serious level, I guess, because I do fuck around a lot, and I do a lot of like Jew jokes. And the reason for that is because I have a sense of humor. And I like to poke fun at anything imaginable that just happens to be funny. Nothing is sacred, and I don't give a fuck. I'm not like a Nazi. I don't care. I don't like murder people based on these jokes. It's for fun. Also, I am Jewish, so if I'm not offended, I don't really care if other people are, because I'm the one I'm being made fun of. Anyway, speaking of that, well, kind of another thing that reinforces that opinion or position on it is that my grandpa was the exact same way. He also had a very good sense of humor, as you'll soon find out. He knew how to laugh at tragedy. He knew how to talk about things that maybe not everybody was comfortable talking about. And he went through some things that maybe not everybody has gone through or is even comfortable talking about for other people going through. It's a very heavy topic. What did he go through? He went through this thing called the Holocaust. I don't know if I ever brought that up. I tend to kind of not bring it up because it's like virtue signaling, kind of like, I descended from a Holocaust. Like, who gives a like? That just seems like bragging. It's like, oh, I'm from a very like trodden, like I descended from like a slave. Like, this dude he was a slave in a slave camp, and so he survived. And his last name is Weichselbaum, and if he did not survive, I mean, there's not that many Weichselbaums. So that's a Holocaust fucking name. Weichselbaum is a slave name. That's why I'm keeping it. Yeah, I have other dumb little stage names I use sometimes just for ease of access. But Weichselbaum, I'm going to keep because that's a fucking name that carries weight to it. It wouldn't be here if the dude was not a very resilient motherfucker. So he had no problem joking about the Holocaust, dude. He had many jokes about it. Maybe, I don't fucking know. He's not alive anymore. He died in 2018. I can't call him up and ask. I cannot interview him on this podcast, but I can put him on this podcast because he was interviewed in 1989 for some sort of commissioned thing where they interviewed a bunch of Holocaust survivors. The Holocaust Museum interviewed them. And it was, I believe, Steven Spielberg was involved because he wanted to get a bunch of research, and it led up to him putting out Schindler's List, which is a movie I've never seen because I don't have to. I could just ask my grandpa, hey, what was that accurate in this scene? It's like, he lived out that movie. Like, he also lived out many, many other movies, like Inglourious Bastards. There's scenes that he was in those fucking scenes, like the farm, like hiding Jews. He just nonchalantly just throws out that, he tried going to a farm. But yeah, the farm was like, I can't just keep a bunch of Jews here. They'll kill me. So so he went to the ghetto. He didn't know how to speak Jewish. He didn't know how to speak Yiddish. And even though he was raised, in a Jewish household, his dad and his parents spoke Yiddish. He just called it Jewish. He's like, I never learned how to speak Jewish. And so he got made fun of that. So he got made fun of for not being Jewish enough, and he was pretty damn Jewish. I mean, come on. He was almost killed for it, for God's sake. He was almost genocided for being Jewish. I think he's allowed to joke about the Holocaust, and he did. Absolutely he did. So anyway, that's enough further of, I guess the reason I'm setting it up is because this is actually like something I'm actually kind of like this is very meaningful to me. This is not like a joke that I'm about to play. This is actually an interview conducted with the legend that was my biological grandfather. His name is Joe Weichselbaum, and he was not afraid of the limelight. He fucking murdered this interview, and he set a good example for how you should act if you are a victim of anything. He is a great example of the best way to live your life. He did not play the victim card. So I'm going to play a couple clips that I curated from a long interview. It's over an hour long. You could easily look it up. It's available online for the public. It's public domain. So I have no problem sharing this with you. It's not like that private. He would probably like that I'm sharing it because, Anyway, I don't know. Whatever. I'm just saying he probably would not mind because this was his moment in the sun of spotlight. He helped Spielberg make the movie better. So I think that's enough setup. So I'm going to give you an example of what he sounded like. I cleaned up the audio. This was a painstaking process, but I was passionate. It was a fun process too, because I was listening to my grandpa's voice, who I haven't listened to in a long time. He was a very intelligent person. He had bad dementia, though, in the last 10 years of his life. So he lost his ability to talk about this stuff a long time ago. So just hearing his voice was very therapeutic to me and empowering to hear this guy's voice. And I remastered it, and I cut out the bad, background noise, so you'll be able to hear it. So here we go. Here's an example of my grandpa.
What I think that it can happen anytime and in any country, including this country, if we're not careful. Any place it can happen, and in any time. There's so much bad in people that and people believe in somebody gets on television or on the radio and talks, and he's so convincing, and people believe in those things. And although it's a terrible thing, but people get so excited about it that I don't know. We just got to. Somebody has to be always on the lookout for that it doesn't happen again, because it can happen any place.
So that's as good as quality as it's gonna get. You could tell what he was saying. He's got a thick accent. He had a very interesting accent. Like it was a mix of, I don't know what, but it was an interesting accent. He was he was laughing in that clip as he was talking about the fucking Holocaust. He was like fucking cracking himself up when he was talking about how we got to make sure it doesn't happen again. He was like, I don't know. Somebody's got to do something. Somebody's got to make sure it doesn't happen again. And that's me right now. No. So that's just the first clip. Very poignant fucking clip. That was the end of the interview. That's where it went straight to black. Because that was a profound fucking thing to end on. So here's another clip, and I could play the video too. I could very easily do that, but for some reason I was like, nah, I'll just play the audio. You'll see what he looks like. Anyway, so prejudice. Here's what he's asked about: how the Holocaust changed, like, his personality, like his views or whatever. Like,
how do you think your experiences, all that you went through, how did it change you? Did it cause a change in you in any way, in your outlook?
Did it change his outlook? How did it
Personality
change his
traits?
outlook, personality
Were
traits?
you changed in any way by what you went through?
Well, I think I understand people better. I'm not so fast to judge, and and I'm not prejudiced. That's the most that there's no prejudice. Just after the war, I was 4 years in Germany, and I had a good time, and I think that helped a lot because if we would have come right away here, we're still with all that hatred. That way, we even got to know the Germans a little better, and we found out that not all the Germans are Nazis, and that they were good people, and too. And the main thing is that I think if I was ever prejudiced, I'm sure not after that experience, because I can see that what that brings to, and it can happen to anybody, to any race or religion,
So that's coming from a Holocaust survivor. He's saying he's not prejudiced after going through a genocide. He's actually, that removed his. Of course, there's logical. That's a logical statement. I mean, of course, you see other people's prejudice. If you're a victim of prejudice, wouldn't the thing to do be to not be that way, to not continue to, be the thing that... I mean, it's simple to me, so I guess that's why I feel like I can't even explain it, because it's so goddamn logical. Like, yeah, if you're a victim of prejudice, and to the point where your whole family is murdered from it, yeah, you probably don't want to be prejudiced. So he's a victim of that, to pretty much the highest level that you could possibly be. Victim. And that was his attitude. He was like, well, I don't judge people. I'm not prejudiced, because it could happen to any race in any country. So he was a Democrat. But what he just said is not something that the Democratic Party would sign off on. They would not co-sign anti-prejudice. No, they're very prejudiced. It's very good these days to prejudge. Like, if you're a conservative, that's all people want to know. It's, oh, you're conservative? Okay, I already made my decision. That's prejudice. He would not be that. He would not condone he wouldn't condone bigotry, it sounds like, based on that clip. This was in 1989. So that's when that was considered a pretty reasonable thing to say. But these days, if you say that it could happen to any race in any country, that's where it's kind of becoming a little bit more relevant to today. It's becoming cyclical. I'm not saying the Holocaust has happened. I'm not that far on the right that believes in white genocide theory. But my grandpa said it could happen in any race in any country. Let's just keep that in mind. That's all. We don't have to belabor that point. It's just okay, so he would probably be a Republican. He was not a Republican at all his whole life. He hated Rush Limbaugh. He was a direct victim of anti-Semitism long after the war. I mean, as soon as the war ended, he went to Poland. He didn't go to Poland. He heard about... He was a smart motherfucker. This guy survived the Holocaust. He was not like a dumb guy. So he heard, we could talk about his time in the Holocaust, but I'm just talking about once he got liberated. He heard through the secondhand. No, you don't go back to Poland. Are you fucking nuts? They'll fucking kill you, dude. They still hate Jews there, even though you're from there. No, you're Jewish. They don't give a fuck. You'll ask for your parents' belongings, which they probably have, and then since they don't want to give them back, they'll just fucking kill you. So he didn't go back to his homeland. He went to Germany, because Germany was actually not, I mean, sure, there was still anti-Semitism in Germany, but also there was some Germans who weren't anti-Semitic. They fucking helped out the fucking Jews. He lived on a farm with fucking Germans after the war for a little while. So that was after the war, so he didn't have to worry about people scalping him or whatever the fuck happened in Glorious Bastards. This was after the war, so he was a little bit safer. And then he was asked later on if he ever considered like taking revenge. So let's see that clip right here.
You have feelings of wanting to take revenge?
Well, I tell you, I was so weak. I don't know. Well, I was with a group of people, you do what the others do, but there was no heart for it, believe me. Jewish people are not, are different, what can you do, I mean.
So, there's a lot of things going on there. Like, he rattles off so much of history is in such a way that, like, there's so much layer, there's so many things that he just said that are, like, you could really unpack. Like he said, well, I was weak, didn't have the heart for it, so I physically couldn't. But if other people were, I would have joined in because that's human nature. So there you go. He just described why the Holocaust happened in the first place, and also he admitted he said himself, well, if other people were doing it, I would have joined in because that's kind of what you do. So he understood the psychology from both sides of the coin. And so also the funny part is like when he said he kind of corrected him, he kind of course corrected because he didn't want to say what I think he was going to say.
You have feelings
for it, believe me. Jewish people are not are different.
He wanted to say Jewish people are fucking weak, but then he changed Jewish people are different because he didn't want to say something that would obviously be a little bit kind of diminishing of Jewish people's strength when he's being interviewed by like Steven Spielberg, because then it would have made it into the movie. He would have had to write into the like a bunch of weak ass Jews in Schindler's List. So thank God, because he wanted to be a historical act. He wanted the movie to be accurate. That's the whole point of why he interviewed my grandpa, because Spielberg, he wasn't old and he wasn't in the Holocaust, so he had to interview people like my grandpa to make sure that the movie was accurate so he could make a shitload of money. So anyway, that's the second clip. I'm going to play just one more quick clip that was it. I replayed all three. So yeah, he's quite a person that I want to. I didn't know that I was like already taking something from his book, because obviously I kind of was subconscious. If you're fucking exposed to such a high quality human being, even if he's your grandpa, like even if it's just like 2 generations, I was raised by him a little bit. He babysat me. We talked enough for me to be influenced by him a little bit. I saw that he was a very like stable, like respected person. He had a very good sense of humor. He was the life of he could lead a fucking party conversation. And so of course he influenced me in some ways. And like, I didn't know how much though. I didn't know that he also kind of was that smart politically to look through the bullshit and see how human nature is, and like evilness, and like not thinking all German people are fucking evil just because they're German. I mean, that's why he survived, because he had that fucking fortitude. And the reason I even started digging into this type of stuff is because when I discovered I have ADHD and that I'm suffering from it, or was, before I started taking amphetamine. Holy shit, did he probably also have ADHD, because it's a Jewish disease. It's like you need ADHD to survive harsh situations. People with ADHD do better in emergencies. That's when we're calm, because it's a dopamine fix. It's like, oh, I wonder if I'll survive. Let's fucking prove those assholes wrong. So that gives you enough dopamine, that lack of stability, like pure chaos. Like people are dying around you. People are getting shot in the head. They're being sent off the gas chambers. He never saw a gas chamber. He didn't get into one, but he definitely noticed that a huge bunch of people were not in the camps that definitely showed up with him. I mean, hey, just to kind of get a little bit into the whole like conspiracy stuff about whether gas chambers actually existed or not. Well, I think they probably did, because he showed up with people and then he never saw them again. There was like this thing where they decided if they were good enough to be, a worker or just euthanized. And they had different color badges to indicate if they were a good worker, if they were, I don't know, there were different color badges to indicate, and he had the good kind of badge, like that showed that he was a hard worker. As much as the Nazis are fucking horrible, they did say something that was kind of true. On the fucking gate, it said, Arbeit, I forgot the fucking phrase, but it means work will set you free. And in his case, yeah, he worked. That's why he survived, because he was a worker. He worked. Of course, that was not true for everybody who worked their ass off. They still died of typhus or whatever. They still got killed in some other way. If you tried to escape, they hung you in front of every other prisoner in the camp. They had electric fence all around all the camps. He was not just in one camp. He was in a lot. He was 18 years old and he was liberated, I believe, in 17 or 18. So he was a young man, hardy, and also being small, he said, attributed to his survival because he didn't eat as much food. I mean, he was starving, and also people died just by being fed food because they were so fucking starving that you can't just eat a fucking meal. You gotta slowly nurse yourself back to health. That's like a deadly fucking... I don't know how he survived that. So he was a survivalist. And so it's like, yeah, ADHD helps with that. So he probably had it. That's why it descended down to pretty much everybody in my family. So I'm just waiting for the next fucking genocide to happen, and then I'll fucking shine, because I was built for that. And also, what the fuck am I doing with my life? I'm not, after watching that fucking interview, knowing what he went through and how much strength he had, and his attitude towards humanity being positive still towards the end of till the last day of his life. He was a positive person, even when he had Alzheimer's. He had Alzheimer's, which was also a Nazi invented. Alzheimer's was named after a Nazi doctor or some shit. Anyway, he was a very jovial, positive force on the world. And so I want to also be that. I'm still going to make jokes. I'm still going to make dumb jokes that offend people, but that doesn't mean I'm not trying to get something out. I'm not trying to not be positive. I'm not trying to be toxic. So anyway, I want to do something with my life because I'm carrying such a rare thing. It's a rare thing to be that. It's a rare thing to be a dude that came from that. So anyway, I don't know. It's very palpable, the feeling of I'm going to be not famous. It's not about I got to become famous. But I do need to. It's not a desire. It's more than a desire. It's a essential thing that I need to do something significant with my life that is positive and is value additive to the world. I want to add value to the world because he's not here anymore, yet he's probably the most inspirational person in my background, in my formative... Who I am as a person is most influenced by him, and he was the shit. So I kind of want to be the shit as well. So anyway, this was a very non-funny episode, but maybe it doesn't matter. None of them are that funny. Some of them are just, I'm just vomiting a bunch of dumb. So, like if I'm bombing, like, at life, why did he survive the Holocaust? Is kind of the way I looked at it. It's like, so he... Okay, so that was a good episode. We covered all the topics. There's not a single hitch in the planned audio drops and all that shit. I don't know why I'm still talking. This has been episode 49 of the Tim Weichselbaum program. I will see y'all next week. Another quick thing. I'm officially 1 year sober from alcohol, 365 days to the day. 1 year ago, I was thrill-seeking, and I already talked about this, but anyway, 1 year sober from alcohol. Now I'm on amphetamine, and I don't have to do other drugs anymore. That takes away the desire to consume. It makes you want to do. It makes you want to make stuff. Even consuming ice cream is like a chore. It's like, I don't fucking want to eat this shit. And before I had binge eating disorder. I've talked about that on this fucking podcast. That's why I'm doing this fucking thing. I'm actually connecting the dots in solving problems in my life. And I'm trying to get my brother, not trying that hard, but I of course I want him to get treated as well for his ADHD, which he seems like he will at some point. It's like, the thing is, it has to be his idea. It can't just be somebody forcing him to take a medicine. That's not how that works. You got to actually want to be better. That's why I am taking. I'm not because I want to get high. It has a horrible come down. Getting high from Adderall is a bad place to. It's not what it's good for. There's other drugs for that are better. Meth is better. Meth is better just as medicine. But I don't need to be on it quite yet. I don't need to be on the Walter White shit quite yet. I have thought about how I would approach the topic with my doctor, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to fucking ask him for meth slowly. It's going to slowly come up. I'm not going to go into, I don't want to give away the secret. This is just something that I have to do myself. I'm not going to give the secret recipe on how to get legal meth. You have to have very serious ADHD, and you have to have, a specific reaction to the other drugs. You can't just get prescribed meth if you don't really need it. I mean, I'm very sensitive to Adderall. That's why I think I might actually be a good candidate for meth. As ridiculous as that sounds. So anyway, this has been episode 49 of the Tim Weichselbaum. So I will see you next week. Have a good one. Yeah.